D&D summer setting starts right now. Hey everyone, Coder D coming time for another edition of Hobby Toku Anime, or in this case, some D&D summer settings. And I brought my friend Mike, which I teased last time with about how I knew this person in my organized play stuff. Now introduce yourself, magic friends.
Yeah, I've been playing D&D for almost 30 years now. Our group started our campaign back in 1989. So this is my wheelhouse. We're going to be talking about Greyhawk.
Yes. And just to know, I'm not going to talk about modern D&D when we get to cut up things at the end, but we're just doing an evolution thing in between each setting we do. And we're starting with the original, Gary Gygax's main setting, Greyhawk.
Yeah, we decided to go with chronological for this. So when we get to more modern settings, you'll be hearing us talk about things like Critical Role and Eberron. But for now, we're back in Orth. Orth is the original setting that was created by Gary Gygax. Technically, there's one other one, but that got blended in later on.
Yeah, I think I did a video
Greyhawk.
on that.
Yeah, you did a video on Blackmore back in the day. And this is the one a lot of people have heard of because we're talking about some very iconic, number one bad guys in all of D&D.
Yes, Vecna.
Vecna.
If you see Stranger Things and coming up with the final season, which I'm so excited for.
Yeah.
But feel like Vecna is a different character feeling than in the show, which I won't explain here. But anyhow, point is, D&D settings. We're now, before we get into Greyhawk, let's explain the basic stuff of D&D's main gameplay for first edition, which is the first editing of it. We won't do basic or fourth edition because basic is not really D&D, modern D&D, and fourth edition is not really popular.
Yeah, there's three big eras of Dungeons and Dragons. The first era, which is we're entering
first and
today,
second.
It's basic, advanced, and second edition. They all use very similar number systems. We're going to skip over basic because it has some problems with racial overtones and stuff like that. We're going to go straight to advanced.
Right. Advanced D&D, or if you saw the being critical community episode, D&D was advanced D&D for the longest time because D&D started as advanced officially with modern D&D, which is a long story. I did a video on it. Go look it up if you don't know.
It's on this channel.
Yeah, one of my early videos of the Hobby Toku anime phase on this channel, fun fact. But anyhow, the point is, Mike explained the rest of the D&D basics of what things we have for first edition.
So there's a couple basic things we're looking at. This is where we get the concept of you get a race, like
and a
human
class.
or elf or dwarf, and you get a class. The four basic, technically the first edition had 5 basic classes. It was fighter, cleric,
Thief.
magic user, and thief. There wasn't sorcerer or warlock or
It was
a lot
very
of these other
simple.
things.
It was simple. Like, I feel like 5.5 made D&D simple again, which is a pro of 5.5 that I like over 5th, but that's another story.
But this is where it starts. This is where technically monk is the 5th class in this, but
yeah, but it's
we all remember the big 4.
Right.
Cleric, fighter, magic user, thief.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of offshoots. Paladin does exist. Bard does exist.
Yes.
But those were actually like optional rules. You did not have to, the DM could say, no, you cannot be a paladin. No, you cannot be a bard.
Right.
And so Gygax was thinking of a system where everybody felt pretty similar, but had a goal.
Yes.
Clerics had the goal of healing.
Yeah.
Fighters had the goal of being tanks. Thieves had the goal of doing melee damage. And wizards have the goal of doing arcane damage. And those 4 things have existed all the way up through until we get to 5th edition. It's very similar nowadays. You're either in a divine caster, an arcane caster, a melee damage, or range damage.
Yes, but also, just to know, there's like, the D&D cartoonist surprisingly got 3 out of like 3 out of the 6 classes were what I like to call the last minute class trio, which are the magician, the acrobat, and the cavalier.
Yeah.
Those are not really official, but they're kind of official. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of
they're in another book.
There's a lot of things in this edition that didn't stay in editions going forward.
Right.
Thief Acrobat, which was just basically a gymnast.
Yes.
Cavalier, which was a guy who really only fought on a horse.
Yes.
So if you went in a dungeon, you're like...
Or Shield, if you've seen the cartoon.
Yeah, you're like, I'm in a dungeon now. Well, what can you do? I'm just bad now. I don't have a horse.
No, I just have a horse. Or I just have this giant shield that's completely indestructible.
Okay,
and I have nothing to hit.
Here we go, big shield. Hope things come directly from the front and hit my shield.
Yeah, but now let's get back to Greyhawk.
Yeah, so this also gives us the big characters that we've seen actually go through all... We're actually end up seeing some of these characters even in other editions. So
right, like Morning came in, and most notably, Vecna, which Vecna, fun fact, his name was a spelling of Vance, which was a writer that Gary Gygax inspired the spell system. That's another story, but the point is Vecna's name is a reference.
Many of the names in this early edition are a reference. There's a group of people that Mordenkainen leads called the Circle of Eight.
Yes.
They're the big wizards that all come together to try and take out global evil. Think of them as your Avengers for the first D&D game.
Yes.
And they come together. One of them's name is Drolmage, which is just Jim Ward backwards.
God. Yes. That's a weird Easter egg. But the point is, the Circle 8 are badass groups, even if their most famous adventure screen is one of the worstest adventures ever. Vecna lives.
I don't know if you call that a bad adventure. It does have a huge twist. We're not going to talk about the twist.
No, I mean, it's a good adventure, but it has a really bad start.
It is a rough start, but let's talk about that. A lot of the thing in first edition that's hard is that it's deadly.
Yes.
First edition.
If you played a Dungeon Crawl Classics, which brings back the dangerouses with third edition quality, but that's another game. But the point is, yeah, Dungeon Crawl Classic is basically the role-playing equivalent of first edition toughness with third edition's taste.
Yeah, Goodman Games has released a lot of the adventures for this setting, so if you want to go check them out, there's a couple of really good ones.
Yeah, but we're talking about D&D, not a...
No, Goodman Games is the company that redid those D&D classic adventures, like Keep on the Borderlands.
Oh, yeah, they did for 5th edition, yeah.
Right, and you can play them, you can play these adventures.
I think not Vecna Lives. I think that was a dice set.
No, Vecna Lives got reprinted in their 4th, I think it's the 4th book.
Oh, I did not know that.
So
I am shocked. I learned something. The more you know. Sorry.
And we're talking about a setting where the Earth is pretty big.
Yes.
Earth is the planet that Greyhawk is on. Greyhawk is actually the main city. It's known as the Great and Free City of Greyhawk because it's kind of what we would imagine like New York City is.
Yes.
It's
New York City.
People come in from all over Greyhawk. Greyhawk's on a huge bay, so it's really good for shipping. It's really good for adventures to start their adventures from because there's a lot of places around there.
Yes. If you play D&D 5.5, the Dungeon Master guy added Greyhawk as a setting. But it's more of a springboard. Like, it's still not all of Greyhawk, but it's a good product placement for what a camping setting is. And yes, it's more fit for Greyhawk to be like this. So thumbs up to 5.5.
And Greyhawk has other cities in it as well.
Yeah,
there's entire countries that you can travel to. Divers is a thieves town that kind of encompasses almost like a criminal underground.
Yes.
There's going up into Molag, you can go deal with the demon Ayuz and his region that he's conquered, where gold doesn't exist and you have to buy everything using gemstones. You can go out to Ralostra and
Yeah.
learn about all the different magics that exist on the East Coast. So there's a lot of different big sectors, and it's not just like, here's a city. There's hundreds of cities that have been created by players and by Gygax himself over time. So you can spend weeks or months just traveling from Greyhawk to Ralostra, stopping at different places along the way, finding different adventures and different dungeons that already exist.
But just to know, our series is going to have a lot of races and classes that are unique, but Greyhawk is so generic that we don't need any of them for this episode.
Right. We're still in the era of elf, dwarf, orc. Orcs are bad guys. Goblins are bad guys. If you see a goblin, if you see a kobold, if you see an orc, they're almost always bad guys in these eras. We're not talking about the modern thing where you can kind of play all the different classes. You can be fairies and dryads and all these weird things. They just didn't exist. Like, you had to figure out.
Yeah, this is like the basic bread. It's weird because people think the basic bread is Forgotten Realms, which we will explain in episode this number right here on my hand.
Yeah, technically, Forgotten Realms actually isn't even the second setting that comes out.
Yeah, it's the third setting, which I just showed you with the number. But
that was a 3. My bad.
Yeah, so technically our next setting, which I say is a popular book series, which we won't say now, but the point is, D&D is a really good setting, and without Greyhawk, it wouldn't be any D&D at all. But like, these videos are going to be longer than normal starting next week. But for today, let's just say D&D without Greyhawk, there wouldn't be D&D. Kinda, but it depends on how you look at it.
Thanks, Gary Gygax, for making such a cool world to start with. And now we're going to have other worlds to talk about for the next 9 weeks.
And before we end the video, I will tell you that our next setting is a book series. A popular book series, mostly to sell D&D adventures, and that is the Legendary Book of Dragonlance. Hope you liked the video. Link down below if you like this new format change for the rest of the summer. We're going to go back to the old format after summer, but this is just a special thing I'm doing with my friend Magic Friend. Just coming saying bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now.